And I think Councilperson Brett Von Durnt's coming. I
Just pulled in.
I should say board
Emma
member.
pulled in.
And then we got City Attorney Dale Wilden.
Here.
President Kelly Milan.
Here.
Utility Director Rob Schneider.
Present.
And myself.
Okay, Director, you got any announcements for this meeting?
No announcements,
Okay.
Your Honor. Thank you.
If I could, guys, can I get you to, we'll let Rob finish up the meeting, but I gave you guys a copy of a couple of job descriptions at the retreat to take a look at. One being the water laborer position and the other the electric apprentice position. Did you all get a chance to review those? And
I did.
Yeah.
just for information, Jenny and I are meeting with Dan Darrell next week. That's why I wanted to get your guys' yay or nay before I go to him. And then we'll let you know if there's any changes that he says that we can't agree on or something. But
I was going to say, I have no problem with what's in there, obviously contingent to as long as the union agrees to whatever's there.
yep,
Yeah, everything looks good to me. I mean,
good point. Okay.
this is a start, you know?
Yeah. And he may agree. He may have some things he pushes back on, but we'll come back to you if there's any pushback. But if there is no pushback, or if you vote to approve these positions to be posted, that's what I'm looking for today, contingent upon union approval. If it is, then I would like to give Jenny the ability to go ahead and get them posted if there's no issue from the union. If there is a change, then we'll come back to you and
Okay.
go through the process.
Well, I'll make the motion that we go ahead and post the water labor position if we want to do that one first.
Yes.
I'll
Can I get a
second that.
second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion to post the electric apprentice position.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. All right, next is, I just called it utility discussion there, Mr. Director.
That sounds great. Thank you guys for being here today. Really, this work session is mainly intended for me to be able to share my perspective at this point and attempt to establish as much transparency as possible regarding our current direction and how we plan to move forward and some future projects and decisions that will be presented to you guys. So some of this will be a little bit of a recap from what we went over in at the council retreat. We'll go ahead and dive into it. I had sent out a prelude to this with some topics. I tried to expand a little bit more in there with the interest of keeping this shorter. Well, cover those similar topics here on the slideshow. So on the accountability topic, a lot of this ties together, but we currently find ourselves in a situation where when roles are not defined specifically enough, that where we have errors that do occur in our daily workflow, it's hard to be able to establish accountability because of our lack of documentation, our lack of workflows, standard operating procedures. And we have people here that are really striving to do a good job. They take pride in their work. And when we can't go back and identify where an actual issue originates from, what the source is, we open it up for repeat issues and a lack of ability to respond to it. So we need to put systems in place that allow our LMU employees to have a clear definition of their roles and outline specific duties in a manner that is understandable and gives them the capability of identifying deficiencies in the existing processes so that we can appropriately address them as they arise and have the most accurate information possible to make the best decision moving forward. Over time, such a system will provide accountability at the management and employee level. This is a familiar slide. This is the same slide that we had at the council retreat. This is talking about the IT application specialist that will support that, establishing the systems and workflows for scheduling, documentation, information transfer, and give us the capability of QA, QCing our work and identifying the deficiencies in our operations. So we've really covered that already. So moving on to transparency, this is something that not just with the public, but with you guys, the board, and our internal staff as well. I think we need to try as being more transparent as possible, just to help, again, with that accountability piece. We're not really trying to point the finger and discipline people, but if we can't have that accountability, we're not going to be able to fix the issues as they arise. So this transparency is in line with that as well. But speaking to the public side, we need to be able to provide insight and education opportunities for the citizens of Lawrenceburg, which we serve, to clearly understand the structure, operations, and policies of LMU. While this practice certainly comes with the potential for increased scrutiny and difficult questions, over time, as we adjust and respond to concerns we receive from the public, we will only make our utilities stronger and more resilient to future scrutiny. Quote from General George S. Patton is, "Pressure makes diamonds." So it's not always going to be fun, but again, it'll make us stronger in the future. A little bit on this. Coming into the utility, a lot of my time in the initial months was spent searching through our documentation of ordinances, terms, and conditions to understand the basis for our operations. Much of this was done initially in public-facing portals. So I'm just getting on our website information that's open to the public. And I developed the perspective that much of this information is out of date, or not necessarily in line with what our actual operations are. So this is something that we're striving to really wrap our heads around and make sure we get all this information updated and documented correctly and make it accessible and understandable to both ourselves and the public. And you know, that's something I think the more transparent we can be with the information we're using to make our decisions, the better we'll be able to stand up to scrutiny. So just a little bit more here. And you guys, we passed the new terms and conditions last night, but together, Crystal, Eric, Garrett, and I have been reviewing and proposing updates to our ordinances and terms and conditions within each department, and starting to plan on how we can better organize that and display methods on our website and in other methods for public accessibility. We're holding monthly meetings with Dell to review these changes and get broader interpretations, so we understand them better ourselves and can really address the ones that need to be updated. We've been in discussions with AmLegal to understand the best method for updating our public-facing information, that they house that, and we've worked with them. We understand that for the pricing that we get from them, we can actually update those quarterly rather than annually, so and it won't have any impact to our price. So like the terms and conditions can be codified and posted on AmLegal's website within 3 months rather than annually. So work on this is going to continue throughout 2026 and long into the future. This is just a little bit of an objective perspective. When you type in transparency in a public utility and an AI system, it comes back with this. Transparency in a utility company is essential for building trust, ensuring regulatory compliance, and enhancing customer satisfaction. By openly sharing information on pricing, environmental impact, and infrastructure projects, utilities foster accountability and improve public relations.
I was wondering how you were able to write this so very well written.
No, the only thing in that came from any kind of Google search or anything like that was the HEA 1459 summary, but no, yeah.
Well, I don't see anything on what you have on ours, I don't see up there.
No, other than the topics, it's.
I'm like, okay, I'm not following along with that one. I got you though. I know where you are.
Gotcha.
Gotta stay sharp, Lenny.
So,
Why did I not know you was gonna say something about that?
I meant myself.
moving on to budget methods and finance management. So our current practices here fall short of accurately portraying our long-term viability and projecting our ability to maintain our infrastructure assets as assets reach the end of their usable life cycle, leading to unaccounted for costs that must be passed on to the ratepayers and taxpayers in a knee-jerk reactionary manner. We need to address this at various levels of the utility so we can accurately budget for a sustainable future in which LMU is truly a standalone entity. The department heads, Hunter and I, have had a lot of preliminary discussion on this. While our operating budget fairly represents our annual cost to cover current operational expenses, we lack an understanding of how much money should we be putting away for asset management and replacement. As our existing assets depreciate over time, we should have the ability to transfer an appropriate amount of funding on a monthly basis to cover the cost of those assets over their expected lifetime. Our current setup for asset depreciation and account transfers isn't set up to facilitate this.
When will Hazen start the sewer part of the?
So that'll be on for board approval on at the next meeting, and then we're starting that same week. So, moving on back on the slide, with the USB approval, we plan to use professional service agreements to help implement new ordinances to better define our asset depreciation practices to be adopted by the utility, allowing us to tailor our asset depreciation approach to facilitate the needs of the utility with the help of professional services. So everything right now is done based on an ordinance that's an existing ordinance, and reviewing that ordinance, the life cycles and the categorization of it needs to be addressed so we can get more granular and better identify what is the realistic life cycle to have on a specific asset, rather than, hey, this whole project fits with this, let's grab that. It's not tailored really to facilitate a streamlined operation here. And so with USB approval, we plan to use professional service agreements to perform rate studies, starting with sewer, that will incorporate the new asset depreciation categorization and life cycles into our rates accurately. We plan to separate our asset depreciation accounting from our capital development project funding once we've restructured our asset depreciation system. Future rates must be structured that they can adequately fund operating, depreciation, and provide additional funding for necessary development projects projected in the future with the most accurate information available at the time of the rate study. This approach will truly let LMU stand alone. Financial sustainability is a regulatory requirement for the utilities, and we must submit evidence of our sustainability as part of the HEA 1459 legislation that's targeting water and sewer utilities across the state of Indiana. We'll talk more about HEA 1459 at the end of the presentation here. So asset management. This needs to be a focal point of our initiatives as we move forward and leverage to catapult us from our current circumstance of knee-jerk reactions to a circumstance where we are proactive and better geared for preventative maintenance and cost-effective management of assets, while having a solid understanding of how our infrastructure ties together and prioritizing the most essential asset management projects in a manner that mitigates risk as much as possible. Over the course of 2026 and 2027, we plan to do a inventory of our assets across all three departments, and this will be necessary to establish the accurate depreciation funding covered in the previous topic. As we do this, we will strive to assess the current condition of each asset and incorporate an asset management rehabilitation plan schedule that will be budgeted for as part of our operating budget and depreciation transfers. This type of asset management plan is a regulatory requirement that we must be submitted with our reports for the HEA 1459 legislation. Again, asset management plan will involve professional services with the approval of the USB. Documentation and data collection. This topic is integral to each of the previous topics listed. The situation here is pretty concerning. I think we've all had discussions on that. But some places are better than others, but as a whole, the shortcomings here are a major hindrance to efficiently achieving our goals, which makes these asset management plans, rate studies, and things much more time-consuming to establish. We need to better our situation here, and systems and efforts alluded to it earlier will significantly improve our ability to better manage our documentation. So, HEA 1459 overview. This is essentially the same bullet points that were in the prelude that I sent out. This is, again, targeting water and wastewater in Indiana. We actually have to submit our initial report for water this year by July 1st. Good news is the initial reporting cycle doesn't include any deficiencies other than if we refuse to submit a report. And then subsequent reports will be subject to reactions, and this can lead all the way up to receivership if we continue to have deficiencies along the way.
Are these reports that we have to do internally, or is this something that you would have Hazen submit?
We would be submitting them, having their help in assembling that is all viable. It's the portal for it, and we had discussions with a couple people already, and Hunter's been staying on top of it to some degree, but the actual reporting portal for it has not been released yet, so we don't have an exact idea of what that is gonna look like. We know what the requirements, what kind of information they're looking for, but the actual process hasn't been, unless it's happened within the last few days, it's not been published yet.
You know, when they announced it, they said it'd be released some point in the first quarter, so I guess it'd have to be by the end of this month.
Yeah,
They'll
so,
push it off.
yeah.
And it's due July 1st.
It's government.
Yeah, it's due July 1st. So again, the way that works is, you know, this does report or require submission of like financial sustainability, asset management plans, board training, education. That stuff the board training part of it doesn't start until 2027. So that you know, the way it sounds is that'll apply to the USB board to get training on
It's
utility
every 40
requirements.
years,
That one I think that one's.
quadrennial.
It's quadrennial, but I don't know what the specific requirements for the training will be.
Got it.
But we would submit reports on that training every 4 years. But the way it's set up is the first 2 years of each cycle focuses on water. So it's broken down by the alphabet. So A through L, we barely make the cut for the first year. So we submit the first year in water, and then we'll submit again. The second 2 years of every cycle is the wastewater utilities. So we won't submit our first report in wastewater until 2028. So hopefully we'll be in a much better position.
Let me add, I think what you're gonna see after I've been following some other topics regarding this at the state level, but I think you're gonna see is there's gonna be some funding at some point to address people's deficiencies in water and wastewater in the state, because every community has deficiencies. There's a lot of communities that just simply cannot replace their line. They just don't have, they can't raise their rates any higher. And they're constantly going to the legislators and telling them that, right? And what the mayor's roundtables have suggested was come up with a similar program like community crossings for these communities to apply for, right? That we're okay, communities less than 10,000 or something, you pay 20% and you can go after $500,000. And all you got to pay is the 100,000. Where communities can afford to do that and get $500,000 worth of work done, right? So I think you're going to see there's going to be a lot of emphasis in the state on water and wastewater. I think at the AIM conference this year, I would assume that there will be some specific breakout sessions around it. I could be wrong. But that would be something to look at in the future, because I think you're gonna see that happening, because there's a lot of communities that are really struggling.
Yeah, I think, and actually Crystal said that there's a meeting on Monday that is looking at some funding for water and wastewater.
That's just a, yeah, it's a water, wastewater, like, planning grant.
Okay.
Okay, but there are, I just saw where the lieutenant governor put out, there were 10 communities that received block grants, and 7 out of 10 were for water, wastewater improvements, like up to $750,000. That's something you need to bring up to Judy and Victoria in your meeting. Say, hey, can you check in on the next cycle for the block grants? Because those are for actual, those aren't for planning grants. Those are for actual, you can put towards a project. So it may be $750,000 that we can put towards I&I.
Would you, I don't know, I'm sure you probably don't have all the information on this, but would the planning grant apply to asset management planning?
It could. I don't know. I think that Victoria and Judy will be able to share that with you. but I think it'll be well worth to look into.
What about the state revolving fund? Have we looked into options with that?
Well, so the asset management plan and largely the basis for what they require in their asset management plan here is based on the state revolving fund requirements. So we're nowhere near that asset management plan that we would need to be able to.
In order to get into that, you have to have these things in place. We don't have any of
So
that.
It's like going to the
I have
bank
a,
and loan.
I have a
Well,
big,
and Dylan, and it's a good question, but
Yeah.
the reason, guys, is the same reason that, that we bonded the money that we built the park, is because for years, all we did was write checks, right? We didn't have any credit. And the same holds true for utilities. Utilities never had to worry about the state revolving fund, nor did Lawrenceburg. But you know what? It's a resource out there that we probably should utilize when necessary.
It's a different day.
Yeah, absolutely, it's a different day, but I think you're gonna see these kinds of opportunities in water and wastewater becoming, similar to what we've seen in roads. That's what the hope is. I know from the mayor's roundtables, it gets discussed at all of them.
yeah, so, and thank you for bringing that up, Dylan. That's, so I have a big packet that I printed out on their recommendation. They have a lot of guidance on what those requirements are for the asset management plan to be eligible for that state revolving fund, and that's been the basis of planning design that was given to Hazen moving forward into this asset management plan. So any other questions on this? This is, you know, that guidance is what we're using to move forward with our asset management plan. I don't want that to be the maximum we establish, but that's our minimum requirement.
Rob, one question.
Yeah.
In what you provided with us, you said there's been about 33 million in depreciated assets, but only 5 million in depreciation accounts. How quickly do you plan to make up that difference, or kind of?
So I don't know, given the state of the asset depreciation system, I don't know if that's how realistic that deficit even is. I mean, there's entire projects from 1950 that are listed as lump sum depreciation values that have assets within them. It doesn't tell an accurate story. As I alluded to in that document, it was really just to draw attention that we need to wrap our head around this. So, I mean, really that's, you know, not to go way out here, but, you know, for like intergenerational equity, you know, that's not something we need to put on everybody now. So we need to understand the situation before I can really answer that question.
Yeah, I think the key too is that, you know, I was talking to Hunter a little bit about this, but, you know, they want you to have an asset management plan, but they don't tell you what that asset management plan consists of, what you have to do, what you have to be able to have in your depreciation fund. They tell you none of this information.
They give you nothing.
And if you take a look at, you know, just what, in the state of coming down and say, hey, you need to depreciate all your assets and you have to do it by this date. You know, so what city and utilities do? They do it. But do they do it the correct way? No, but they do it because it's state mandated. You know, so there's nothing set in stone. To raise $33 million or $28 million, the difference right there, they'll run us all out of town.
It's not feasible.
You try to raise the rate that high. It's just, it's not feasible. It's not the real world. You gotta, you know, I agree with Rob. We need to get a good asset management plan, figure all this stuff out, get some good numbers. But, you know, to be able to fund those numbers is a whole different ballgame.
Exactly.
So the depreciation account, you know, it's not set up really to fund our future replacements. It's to regain the funding that we spent on these assets at the time they were spent. So it's not gonna be like, hey, we have the money to buy this outright, but we should have the money that was associated with the cost of that initial asset by the end of its life cycle. And there's a lot that goes into that. Asset management plans aren't gonna be just, you know, I mean, we use a straight line depreciation method, but when we have rehabilitation projects on our pipes and things like that, that's all gonna play into how that asset depreciation funding will be utilized.
Well, and simplistically putting it, all the trucks we drive around, you know, that we all have, nice trucks. When that truck is bought, although we paid $50,000 in cash for it, if we're gonna say the life cycle of that truck should be 15 years, we should be putting $3,000 a year plus the cost of inflation back in on that.
And see, that's the thing. I mean, the state, you know, when the state tells you to go in and put that in there, the depreciation, the lifespan of it, you know, and you look it up, what's the lifespan on a truck? Hunter and I looked at 5 years. So,
Yeah.
so we put
Well,
5 years. So it's not, the numbers are not accurate of
But
what
when
we're
you're
looking
talking
at.
about, you know, on a truck that's driven in the city,
Right.
you're putting 20,000 miles on it in 5 years or whatever, some of them. I mean, that isn't a life cycle for me.
No. And there's nothing that says, well, you know.
I think
once that's
we have to create our own,
Yes.
right? Does that make sense?
And again, that's nothing to say that, that's not to say that you have to, once it's at the end of its life cycle on the depreciation aspect, that you have to go right back out and replace it. But that money should be earmarked and accounted for so that when that does need replaced, it's there. So there's a lot of details to be fleshed out.
Well, I think what it'll make everybody, all of us do, is really evaluate the needs versus the wants.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's easy to put in a 5-year strategic plan on capital that, hey, we want to replace this truck and then this truck. Well,
Yeah, and just budgeting in general, when we look at a bucket of money and say, hey, we got money for this, to be able to say, no, I mean, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, this is really what we're dealing with. Not just this big asset depreciation capital fund that we don't really have anything broken down within it.
and if we don't start somewhere, we won't start.
Right.
I think we got to get a baseline, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think, you know, when we're dealing with the regulatory authorities, just to be able to say we have a plan in place and we're moving in that direction is key, rather than just, we can't do that.
Yeah, and the other problem we had is, you know, especially with the sewer, I mean, you know, we got really one major project, you know, a new project. This isn't an asset we have right now. This is a new project. So you got to take a look at that, and that's not cheap. So we got issues there too.
Right.
So,
You guys are gonna have to come up with some creative financing.
a lot of grants,
What did you say?
a lot of grants.
Well, or, you know, put it all on red and see what you come up with.
So staffing updates, we've covered most of this. This is speaking to the IT application specialist and the request for the water and sewer and electric apprentice. So I won't dive too deep into this. This was on here when I created this about a month ago, and I just never updated it. So that's really the end of the presentation. Any additional discussion or questions, I'd be happy to have it. As I said, this is just something that I wanted to get in front of you guys and let you know my perspective. You know, that you guys run the city and you run the show here. I know you guys are gonna scrutinize decisions and make decisions with the best interests of the community. I just ask for our sake that we consider the regulatory requirements and our ability to be sustainable and stand alone in the future, so that we can be backed by that regulatory and, you know, base our decisions on the authority we are given as a utility from the regulators and state legislature, federal legislation, things like that. And I know that, you know, sharing a lot of information on current circumstances isn't always easy, but I, for one, feel like, you know, I would rather face that scrutiny up front than feel like it's being, you know, I have to come back and look like we were hiding something for some reason. So that's all I had. Like I said, love to get you guys' feedback. Anytime you have questions for me, let me know. Happy to respond to them, or ask Crystal, Eric, and Garrett to respond to them.
All I can add is just get us what you need and let us review it and let's get moving on it, you know what I mean? You're gonna have to show me personally the steps that we need to take and how we need to take them.
Yeah.
I'm there. I know when you said the asset part of it early on, I'm like, wow, I never even give that much of a thought. You know what I mean? I just didn't. Because as the mayor stated, we didn't really care back in the day because we had the money.
And that's the big thing for me. Our current asset depreciation capital setup is really set up as a slush fund. You know, I mean, it's
Yep.
just,
Yep.
we're not breaking down our assets, what we need for our assets in there at all. So when we look at that deficiency, I really, because the asset depreciation system isn't based on something that's intelligible, at least from my perspective, and I think Hunter agrees with me, you know, we've had a lot of discussion there. It's hard to know what that deficit really is there, but we have to establish something in order to start understanding it.
With the board training requirements, is that going to be through AIM, or have you heard what that's going to be through? How are we supposed to do it, or
I
anything
have
like that?
Very little information on there. I haven't even tried to delve too deep into that requirement. It doesn't start until 2027. I just know that's on the face of the HEA 1459 requirement. And I'll be honest with you, on a quadrennial reporting cycle with, what are your guys' terms?
They're 4 years.
4 years. I mean, you know, it seems to lack the teeth that you would expect a regulatory mechanism to have.
Lenny's excited for that class.
Yeah.
Teaches you how to open up a computer and.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Rob? I know it's a lot to absorb, but he's really diving into the things that he's seen for, you know, as he's opened up the book.
Yep, and
so
bring
to
them to
speak.
the forefront. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
And
I
I'm sure
appreciate,
Yeah.
He'll keep you guys all updated on what's being happening and what's going on, and but the first part is let's get this sewer straightened out with the asset management plan, the rate analysis, and see where we're at.
yeah, no, I appreciate the report. So it's clear we have some work cut out for us though over the next
Yes.
couple of
Yeah.
years, and
Yes.
but it's better to identify the issues that we have and work
'em
on it
moving.
together and build a
point.
stronger and better utility.
Get them moving.
Good point.
Yeah,
Kick in the
if-
can.
If anybody wonders if we got the right guy, I mean,
Yeah.
even today's presentation is light years ahead of where we've ever been. What you'll see him, Rob and his team do with Hazen and Sawyer, it's just already, it's phenomenal, it's exciting, because we've always wanted to get to this place where we can actually improve and not just put out fires. And it took, now's the right time. I mean, we had to go through what we went through to get to this place, but between Garrett and Eric and Hunter and Crystal and Rob, it's just really encouraging to see their direction and their
Yes.
vision.
Very much so.
What support do you need from this board?
We'll bring the information to you, ask questions. You know, I want you guys to understand, I don't want you to make decisions blindfolded. I'd like to, you know, it's difficult to get everybody in the same room and time consuming to do individual meetings, but I'd love to keep you guys in the loop every step of the way. I've asked Tommy to sit in on a lot of stuff already. He was involved in the evaluation of the engineering firms we went through before we picked somebody to try and go with. And so if you guys can offer support when those opportunities come up, I would much appreciate it. I don't, like I said, I don't want to end up in a situation where it seems like we're doing anything in a vacuum. We want to be very transparent about everything. And one cool note on the rate study expectations with Hazen is that we expect this to be in a model form. So it'll come out initially with their initial rate study. We'll have our parameters built into it as we identify them through the process, and including the updated asset management plan. And then as we identify changes in those parameters or new parameters, whether it's a regulatory requirement or a new project or something, we'll be able to put that into this model, and it'll give us an update on how our rates stand to fulfill those requirements.
Are you doing a rate on all three utilities?
So this initially, we're only going after sewer.
Just sewer right now?
Yeah, we're getting.
Water will be next.
Yeah. So we have electric, during that load growth analysis, they're providing asset inventory for us, so we're hoping to be able to use that. And then in-house, Hunter, and we may have some additional professional services requested just to come in and help based on that inventory breakdown, how we need to identify those assets and then restructure our transfers for electric here in the within this year is our hope. But then a rate review there we'd like to do as well.
And electric's always easier, just in the sense we've got the ticker, we've got IMPA, water and sewer, Rob's got to do everything on his own. So that's why you see Hazen being so important.
Yeah.
We've got that support with electric, we don't with water and sewer.
Yeah, and that's the analogy I've been using. Hazen largely will be our IMPA for water and wastewater.
Right. Okay, don't forget, we got a work session next Wednesday at noon with Community Project and a couple other little itinerary or agenda items. And then, I think that's it. Anybody else got questions?
Lenny's question is, all
Entertain a
these
motion.
work sessions, are we getting free food at any point?
I know, no.
That's what I would be
Entertain a motion to
looking for.
adjourn.
I'll move.
Two of them.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, I was just saying, because
Thanks, Rob.
Garrett.
I was
guys.
just saying.
Yeah, absolutely.